The story begins on Christmas Eve, where we see a couple peacefully sleeping at home. Just then, their daughter comes in. She wakes her mom up and says that she can hear footsteps coming from the roof above. Her mom took the girl to her room to put her to sleep and told her, "It's probably just a mouse or some animal." The girl also said to her mom, "Mom, it could be Santa too, right? Because it's Christmas." Her mom replied, "Yes dear, it absolutely could be." The girl said, "Then leave out some milk and cookies for Santa." Her mom agreed and told her to go to sleep, then left. After that, she went to the kitchen and put out the milk and cookies, but as she was heading back to bed, she noticed that the door was open. She thinks that maybe her husband forgot to close the door. Ignoring it, she locked the door and then went back to her room. Before going to sleep, she tells her husband, "Your daughter has left out milk and cookies for Santa, so before she wakes up in the morning, eat them as Santa." Her husband says, "All right," and the two of them go back to sleep. Meanwhile, their daughter was still awake because she couldn't fall asleep. The reason was that she heard something again in the house. When, for the third time, she started hearing footsteps from inside the house, she went downstairs to check. Just then, she sees Santa standing there. As soon as she sees him, she immediately goes to her brother's room. She says, "Wake up, brother. Come with me. Santa has come to our house. Let's go see him." But her brother was in a deep sleep. When he doesn't wake up, she goes downstairs alone to see Santa. The little girl was watching him closely, and then Santa's actions started to seem very strange to her. Seeing this, she got scared and immediately hid behind the door, watching Santa from there. Santa takes an axe out of his sack. We see that his hands are also stained with blood. Here we find out that this is not Santa, but actually a deranged killer clown disguised as him, a demon who has come from hell. This clown is known as Art the Clown, and defeating him is extremely difficult. He mercilessly kills people. He kills people in such a gruesome way that just watching it will make your soul tremble. The little girl was also very frightened. Art the Clown now goes straight to the room of the girl's brother. He attacks the sleeping boy with his axe. Then, attacking him repeatedly, he cuts off his head, hands, legs, arms, everything, one by one. He kills him so brutally that he tears him apart. Hearing the noises, the child was terrified. She runs away to hide, after which Art the Clown goes straight to the girl's mom and dad's room. As soon as her dad appears, he attacks him with the axe. Then he keeps attacking again and again, one after another. The terrifying sounds woke up his wife. When she looked at her hand and saw the blood, she was shocked, and as soon as she looked at her husband lying next to her, she was absolutely terrified to see the horrible state of his corpse. She starts screaming terribly, but was Art the Clown going to stop? His brutality kept increasing. He was still killing her. Seeing this, his wife, screaming, runs to check her children's room, and when she sees her son's mutilated corpse, she starts screaming and crying loudly. As soon as she comes downstairs to escape, she has just reached the door when Art appears from behind. He throws an axe at her and brutally kills her as well. After all this bloodshed, Art starts eating the milk and cookies that she had kept out. He even cleans the blood-soaked plates, but as soon as he opens the cupboard to check, he finds the little girl hiding inside. The moment he sees her, Art the Clown's brutality awakens once again. He mercilessly kills the little girl as well. After this, the story shifts to 5 years earlier, to the past, where Art had committed a similar massacre. At that same place, a police officer arrives and finds a decapitated corpse there. The officer immediately calls his police team and starts investigating himself as well. As he moves forward, suddenly Art, without a head, stands up alive again. He grabs the police officer from behind. Although the officer fired his gun, it had no effect on him. After killing the officer, Art went into a train where only a woman could be seen. Art now starts to scare her. He was holding the officer's severed head where his own head should be, which looked extremely terrifying. Seeing him, the woman also gets very scared. After this, we see a scene in a mental asylum, that is, a prison for the insane, where a guard suddenly hears a nurse screaming. When he went there to check, he witnessed a truly horrifying scene. Actually, one of the insane patients there, named Vicky, had given birth to Art's head because she was pregnant. But instead of a baby, she gave birth to the head of Art the Clown. Art's head was just as dangerous as he was. It killed the nurse and was eating her corpse in a very bizarre way. In exactly the same way, Art had done something similar to this patient Vicky, which is probably why she became infected by Art. Her face had become horribly disfigured, and she was now eating parts of her own body, which shows us that she too has become just as brutal as Art. She had now turned cruel and merciless, and like Art, she wouldn't spare anyone. In a way, she had become Art's partner because she drew a heart on the wall and wrote Vicky plus Art inside it. Now the guard sees that Art's decapitated corpse has also appeared there. But before he can do anything, Vicky attacks the guard, and then both of them start displaying their brutality together. Vicky puts her hand in his mouth and rips out his jaw, while Art tears apart his face. Now Art takes the head that Vicky had given birth to. attaches it, and leaves with Vicky. The two of them board a train and go somewhere else. The two of them enter an abandoned house where Vicky sees herself in the mirror and smashes her head against it, breaking the glass. She takes a broken shard, sits in the bathtub, and cuts her hand, filling the tub with her own blood. Meanwhile, Art sat down on a chair in front of her, and after that, they both remained in the same position for 5 years. The story now jumps straight ahead by 5 years, that is to the present time. Here, we see a girl named Sienna, who had been in a mental hospital for the past 5 years. Actually, 5 years ago, Art had committed a gruesome massacre in front of her, in which he killed all of Sienna's friends, along with everyone else. But in the end, the one who beheaded Art was none other than Sienna herself, because she killed Art with a magical sword. In fact, that sword had come from heaven itself, but that incident had a deep impact on Sienna. She had gone into shock, but now she had recovered, which is why she was discharged. Her uncle brought her home from the hospital, where she met her aunt and cousin, to whom she was very close. Both of them were very happy to see each other. Meanwhile, 2 workers arrived at the same abandoned house, whose job was to demolish the old building. But first, they had come to survey the house. Both of them also went to the place where Vicky and Art's bodies were lying like statues. Cobwebs had formed over them. The surprising thing was that neither of them had decomposed at all. But before the workers could understand anything, both of them came back to life, caught the workers, and, as always, killed them mercilessly. While unpacking, Sienna's diary ended up in her cousin's hands, and she started reading it. But Sienna quickly comes and snatches the diary from her hands, telling her never to read it again. Then, while everyone was having dinner together, Sienna suddenly saw her dead friend, who was in a terrible state, and this was the same friend who had been killed by Art. But no one else could see her, which meant that Sienna still hadn't recovered from her trauma. Even now, she was wandering in strange and bizarre thoughts. After this, we see Sienna's brother at the hostel, where he meets his 2 friends. His female friend had started a job where she hosted a crime podcast. In it, she interviews people who have witnessed a crime or seen someone being oppressed with their own eyes, and she also showcases such things. As soon as she sees Sienna's brother, she starts pestering him, saying she wants to interview him and asking him to come on her show, because she knew that Sienna and her brother had already encountered Art the Clown. In a way, she was a huge fan of Art and wanted to know everything about him in great detail. Sienna's brother got nervous at this, but he said, "Alright, I'll think about it and let you know." Just then, he got a call from Sienna. She tells her brother that she's missing him a lot, so she wants to meet him. She asks him to come home to meet her. Meanwhile, Art and Vicky were still in that abandoned house. Here, Art was looking for a new method. How should I torture someone next time? In other words, how can I kill them in the most ruthless and cruel way possible? As we all know, and Art knows this too, that whenever someone feels cold, any injury hurts a lot more. That's why his new method of torture was based on this idea. He experiments with this on a mouse. First, he freezes it, then smashes it like a toy. Now he was about to try this trick on a human, and seeing this, Art becomes very happy and immediately sets out to hunt his prey. He went to a bar somewhere, where a few people were sitting, and one man was dressed as Santa. At first, Art starts talking to them in a friendly and joking manner, but then he gradually begins to annoy them by showing off his tricks, just like the way he torments his victims. Annoyed, as soon as those people move forward to attack Art, he immediately pulls a gun out of his bag and shoots them all dead. Except for one, the man dressed as Santa, because Art is planning to torture him. First, he ties him to a chair, then starts freezing his body with ice. In the end, he takes out a hammer and begins torturing him. As if he was smashing a statue, he kills him mercilessly. Sienna finds an old letter from her brother in which he had written that sometimes demons enter our world, coming from hell. They don't do this easily, but rather, they enter our world with the help of a dead person. That is, a person who has recently died and was also a very bad person in their lifetime. Now, if there are demons, there must also be something to match them, and that was none other than angels. In other words, angels who could easily destroy demons. The letter also said that one of those angels is you yourself, Sienna. That's why you were able to kill Art the Clown, and if any demon comes again, only you can defeat them. After this, we see Sienna and her cousin at a mall, where Sienna hears people screaming and shouting, which gives her a sense of danger, making her suspect that Art might have returned, because that's exactly what she was starting to feel. Just then, Art appears there dressed in a Santa costume, with bloodstains on his clothes. Now he was also wearing a Santa mask on his face, but Sienna had already sensed that it was Art, and he kept gesturing towards her. Seeing this, Sienna became quite scared, but just then, her cousin suddenly appeared from behind. After talking to her, when Sienna turned back to look, Art had disappeared from there. Then, after coming home, Sienna tells her brother about it, saying that she saw Art at the mall today. I couldn't see his face because he was wearing a Santa mask. But I'm absolutely sure it was Art because I can sense him. Her brother says, how is that even possible? You must be mistaken because you already killed him before. So Art's game was already over. I've already forgotten about that incident and now you should forget it too. At this, Sienna shows her brother the letter he himself wrote, in which he said that a demon needs a dead evil person to enter the human world. Earlier, Art had come with the help of a little girl who was very evil. But this time, he has come through Vicky, who has now disappeared from the mental asylum. Her brother got scared after hearing this. He says, so what should we do now? Should we go to the police or just leave this town? Or inform uncle and auntie about this? Sienna says that there's no point in telling them. They won't believe what I say because they already think I'm crazy. Now no matter what, I have to find that magical sword with which we can defeat those demons. Meanwhile, Art sits in the mall dressed as Santa, and the man who was originally Santa, Art had killed him and peeled off his beard along with the skin and put it on his own face. He gives a gift to a little girl. Seeing this, the other kids also went over to him, and Art started giving gifts to all the children until his entire sack was empty. But the children's mom notices and wonders, what kind of Santa is this? He looks strange, quite scary, and the other people also start to notice that this isn't the same Santa who was sitting there before. That's why the god comes and drives Art away from there. But just then, something truly terrifying happens there. In reality, the gifts that Art had given to the children actually contained bombs. As soon as the children open their gifts, there are loud explosions, killing everyone in the mall and blowing up the entire place. Sienna had found the sword, which she hid somewhere by placing it inside a gift box. Her cousin saw her doing this. At that moment, her cousin blurts out, "You like the series, right?" Hearing this, Sienna was quite surprised. She takes her cousin upstairs on some pretext and asks, "When did I ever tell you that I liked the series?" "Then how do you know?" "Maybe you read my diary." To this, her cousin admits, "Yes, and I'm sorry. Even though you told me not to, I still read it. Actually, I wanted to know what exactly happened to you. The things you wrote about Art the Clown. Are all those things true?" But she was still a child, so there was a fear she might get scared. Thinking this, Sienna lies to her and says, "No, it's just that I'm sick. That's why I have all these strange thoughts, which I keep writing down." Her cousin then asks, "So, does that mean you didn't cut off Art's head with that magical sword?" Sienna's answer was no. The cousin was quite disappointed. She says, "No man, everything just feels pointless now." Sienna tells her, "Whatever you've read from my diary, or whatever you know about this now, don't tell anyone." She even makes her promise. Meanwhile, in the hostel, Sienna's brother's friend tells her other friend that she wants to interview him no matter what, because she really wants to understand the stories behind the art. She wants to feel his fear, to know how exactly he kills people. And what does it feel like when such a dangerous demon is so close to you? How does he smile? Now Art, who had already sneaked into the hostel, secretly overhears their conversation and starts thinking that maybe he should just give this girl what she's asking for. Sienna was watching the news on TV, where they were reporting about the explosions that happened in the mall. The government starts to think that maybe this is a terrorist attack, but Sienna knows very well that this isn't an enemy attack, but rather the work of that same Art clone. That's why she gets scared. She starts to worry about her brother. She immediately calls him to tell him about it and urges him to come home quickly. When her brother asks about the sword, she says, "Yes, I have it. Just come home quickly." Now their uncle goes to the hostel to pick up Sienna's brother. In the bathroom, those same boys, that is, Sienna's brother's friend and his friend, were together when suddenly Art calmly walks in. He attacks them with his chainsaw. He attacks his friend first, and then, after attacking the girl on the head, kills her. Here, Art showed no signs of stopping. He kept beating her until her face was completely disfigured. The strange thing was that the girl was still alive. At the very end, Art smiles at her and shows her how he smiles, saying, "Look, I fulfilled your wish. Now I'm right here with you." After saying, "Here you go, feel it," he finally kills her. He takes off his glasses and puts them on her corpse. Meanwhile, the girl's friend was writhing in pain nearby. Seeing him, the demon inside Art awakens. He uses his chainsaw to cut him in half, splitting his body into 2 pieces and giving him a very painful death. Sienna wakes up after having a terrifying nightmare. After waking up, she sees that it's only 2 in the morning and her uncle and aunt are still awake because she can hear them talking. When Sienna goes downstairs to check, she gets scared to see that it's not her uncle and aunt, but Vicky, who is mimicking their voices. Meanwhile, Art had killed her uncle in a very brutal way. He had cut off his head and hung the rest of his body on the wall using nails. Immediately, Art grabbed a hammer and moved forward to attack Sienna. Although she tries to fight back, without the sword she can't really defend herself against him. So, as she tries to get the sword, Art comes from behind and knocks her out with a hammer attack. When Sienna regains consciousness, she finds herself tied to a chair and sees her aunt tied up in the same way in front of her. On the table between them, something was wrapped in paper and placed there. Just then, Vicky goes over to her aunt and removes the tape from her mouth. Crying, she starts asking, "Where is my daughter? And what have you done to her?" At this, Vicky says Art and removes the paper from that thing. Actually, it was a cage with a severed head inside. Rats were eating it bit by bit. There was hardly any flesh left visible on it. It looked like a skull, which is why it was impossible to recognize whose head it actually was. Auntie, crying, starts saying, "No, this is a lie. I don't believe what you're saying. This is not my daughter's head. This can't be possible." After that, they start torturing her as well. Both of them forcibly started inserting a large pipe into her mouth. Then, through that same pipe, they began to force a rat into her mouth. Then Vicky slits Auntie's throat to take the rat out, and right in front of Sienna's eyes, both of them kill her auntie in a very brutal way. Then Vicky puts a crown of thorns on Sienna's head. She starts telling her that yes, this head really isn't your cousin's. After that, she brings Sienna's cousin there. Then Art puts glasses on the eyes of that head, which clearly meant, and was a clear indication, that the head belonged to none other than Sienna's brother. As soon as Sienna realizes this, she is completely shocked. She starts screaming like crazy. Trying to quiet her down, Vicky says that there is no God here. She starts to strangle her. By doing this, she wanted to break Sienna's faith in God and her courage so that they could control her. But Sienna was so strong that neither did her faith in her God break, nor did she let her courage falter. That's why, even after trying with all her might, Vicky couldn't control her, and now they wanted to kill Sienna's cousin right in front of her. So Art puts a knife to his neck. But just then, Sienna's cousin gets an idea. She started saying, "Oh, you both are angels, right? So please grant the wish I asked for. After that, you both can happily kill me. Before dying, I want to open one of my gifts." To this, both of them agree to her request. It turns out that this was the same box in which Sienna had kept that sword, because her cousin knew very well how these two demons could be killed. That is, with the help of this very sword. She also says that the box will be opened not by anyone else, but by Sienna herself. That's why the gift box is given to Sienna. But before she can open it, Art strikes her hand and breaks all 4 of her fingers. Still, despite being in pain, she somehow manages to open the box. The surprising thing was that her hands healed on their own, because the magical sword had touched her hands. And now it was her turn. She immediately draws the sword and slashes Art's throat. Then she throws the sword at Vicky, piercing straight through his chest. She pulls out the sword and stabs it into his mouth again, the blade passing straight through, and finally she severs his head from his body, ending Vicky's game right there. But just then, Art arrives with a chainsaw. But now, she had that magical sword. That's why she starts facing off against Art, matching him blow for blow, blocking every one of his attacks, and a dangerous fight breaks out between them. Here, Sienna starts to overpower him. She stabs him in the stomach with the sword and pins him against the wall. And just then, Vicky's blood suddenly turns into acid and starts flowing, causing the ground there to corrode and crack open. Now, right beneath where Sienna's cousin was standing, a path to hell opens up, and her cousin starts to fall in, grabbing onto the wall to hang on. Seeing her in trouble, Sienna leaves Art and goes to save her cousin. She grabs the sword and tells her cousin to climb up, but her cousin's hand slips, causing Sienna's hand to slip as well, and her cousin falls into hell along with the sword. Seeing this, Sienna was deeply saddened, but she makes a promise to herself, saying that she will go to hell and definitely bring back her cousin and the sword. But just then, she notices that Art is no longer there. The window was also left open, which clearly meant that he had escaped, and that was very bad news. After this, we see a girl on the bus who is reading a book about dimensions, and just then, Art also boards the bus and starts scaring the girl. This means that the cycle of bloodshed is about to begin once again, and to stop Art, Sienna will have to go to hell, where she will retrieve the magical sword and once again try to put an end to Art. With this terrifying ending, the movie also comes to an end here. Will Sienna be able to kill the Art clone, or will his reign of terror continue like this? To find out all this, don't forget to like the video and write next part in the comments below. Thanks for watching.